Welcome to Intentional Crone, the podcast where wisdom meets wit. Here we celebrate the powerful, unapologetic, and ever-curious spirit of older women who are ready to claim their joy, ignite their purpose, and create connections that truly matter. Each week we'll explore what it means to live with intention at this amazing stage of life, whether it's redefining success, tackling the shoulds society throws at us, or laughing at the gloriously absurd moments of it all. We're diving deep and rising strong together. So pour yourself a cup of coffee or wine, we don't judge. Get comfy and let's uncover how to make this chapter one of lasting happiness, fierce empowerment, and a whole lot of fun. Because here at Intentional Crone, we know the journey isn't over. In fact, it's just getting started. So let's go. My name is Hope Moffat, or Mimsy to my grandkids. This is our first episode, appropriately titled First Wave. And by first wave, here I'm not talking about feminism. No, it's the term of respect we often hear from younger members of the alternative spiritual community. So please welcome our guest, Jan Mitchell.
Now, yes. To just move forward to the present, Hurricane Helene came to Appalachia and hit Asheville hard. Now, I was physically removed. I was at my sister's house planning to return. That didn't really happen for me, sadly, and I'm not alone in that. But in terms of, the devastation, anybody can doom scroll. I see the tears, and I feel that. I really feel that, because the connection with the tree of life is a connection with the living world, and the living world was harshly abused. Harshly. How has that lived experience changed you as a spiritual person, and then how you offer your healing to the world?
Okay, let's see. Well, I'll start with the morning of the storm, and we were actually sleeping in our basement, and I couldn't sleep, so I came upstairs. And the storm really started, pretty hard around, I'm going to say 5:30, somewhere around in there, and lasted for a few hours. And I'm pretty okay with storms because I grew up in South Georgia and we had to prepare for a lot of hurricanes, but I hadn't prepared for anything like this. And next thing, flash forward to like 7 a.m., we're in our garage with the door open. We had to manually open it because we had no power. I think the power went off around 4:30 or so. And we were sweeping water out of our garage. And water was pouring on both sides of the house. And we were sweeping and sweeping and sweeping, only to realize we swept literally for 2 hours. And walked into the finished part of the basement. It was 2 inches underwater. Not as bad as other people, but it was 2 inches underwater. And we kind of laughed a little bit, like, wow, we've been out here thinking we're going to keep the flood out, and it hasn't. And then we sat down on the sofa upstairs, and we're like, okay, trying to process, okay, our downstairs is ruined. We're going to have to do something to remediate that, and worry about mold, etc. And then
you had bigger problems on the horizon.
Yeah. So we're sitting there, and we end up walking outside and meeting more neighbors than I've met in the year and a half that we've lived here. And there were trees down everywhere. None came down in our yard. I did put us in a protection. I don't know how much that helped, from that, but we did not have any trees fall on our house. But our neighbors did, a lot of them. And there were trees all across the road. I mean, I could even share more about the story, but I'm not. I'm going to keep it short. But we decided at I think it was about 11 o'clock that morning, that because we didn't have cell service, and our daughter and her husband only lived 3 miles from us. So we decided we were going to walk because we hike all the time. And we got out and started walking, and we were just, oh my gosh, every turn, having to figure out how to go over trees. And then The other thing that I remember noticing so much is that strangers were out there. It was men mostly with chainsaws, and they were chainsawing up these trees. They were not official people. They didn't have on any, special markings. They were just human beings out sawing up tree, trying to cut down trees to clear the roads. And we finally made it to our daughter's house, and all of a sudden my phone started pinging, and I had like 16 text messages from people. Are you okay? Are you all right? And all of a sudden I started feeling a tremendous amount of love.
Because
Like, oh my
people
God.
do love you. People love
I'm like, wow, this is a lot. And then, then I felt the feeling of the humanitarian of like, I've got to get out and volunteer. Like, all these people are out trying to clear the roads, and all these people are sending me text messages asking, what can we do? And are you okay? And I was trying to respond to all of them as quickly as I could, and cell service was coming in and out. But yeah, but then the crying just started. I just started crying. It was hard. I feel like I have not cried this much in a long time, but that's probably not really true. I cried a lot along the way because it's helping me become more comfortable with being seen and that kind of vulnerability. Because I still feel a little bit embarrassed when the tears come and all of a sudden they overtake me and I cannot pull them back. I cannot settle them down. I didn't feel like I was thrown off my foundation, my internal foundation, but I felt like I was completely eviscerated and like my insides were just ripped out and thrown on the floor and stomped on. And it was all the grief and the sadness I just felt collectively from all the small towns around Asheville. And I didn't even have any I didn't see any video. I didn't know what was going on. I just felt it. And I was showing up to my own healing sessions crying, saying, I think I'm done with healing. Like, I think I need to just close up shop. And I'm like,
but people were still coming to you though, in the midst of the people. Oh, okay.
No, I actually stopped seeing people the whole month of October because I had to figure out, I had to be with all of the pain that I was feeling. And so I just put a pause on it and said, hey, I'm not doing any healing sessions, but I'm probably start back up in November. And yeah, so I was showing up to my own healing sessions, not sessions with clients, my own personal healing sessions, saying, I don't know that I think maybe I'm done with being a healer. I've gone down this path and it's felt really difficult in a lot of ways. It's hard to find clients who really want to work with a healer versus, a therapist. People will call therapists all day long, but it feels that way. But healing is different. It's just different. So I was with all of that, and one of my healers said, pay attention to the signs or signals. So, and as it turns out, the very next day I was volunteering at a place making food boxes, and I was talking to a woman and who was, she mentioned something about synchronicities, and I said, yeah, aren't they just the best? I like it, like when you start to call somebody because you're thinking of them and they pick up the phone and they're like, I was just thinking about you. And the woman burst into tears in front of me and started sharing with me about how she had lost her mother, and it was her and her mother doing that all the time. And, and I talked a little bit about being in the healing arts and I'm a medium and stuff, but nothing, I wasn't like, hey, here's my card or anything. But then I went to leave like an hour later, and she said, I would like your contact info. So I gave it to her. So I thought, okay, that's a synchronicity. So I'm not meant to leave the healing.
Right.
So yeah.
More than ever, there's people who will need you, not just in the mediumship, fortunately, but all kinds, because
I'm a soul. Issues. Yeah, because I think overall, I call myself a quantum field healer just as an overall category, but I feel like I help people weave their souls in through their hearts into their body so that they can bring more of their human selves present. They have more available to them the more they can embody the human experience. Believe it or not, that it feels like they have greater access to their soul or their spirit selves or their true selves, and it just helps open them up to what that is for them. It's not going to look the same as me.
Habitual thought patterns and emotion triggers that we're constantly running
Yeah. So yeah, and I use combinations, like theta healing to clear the cyclical thinking and take it back to the root cause of maybe when it started for people. So yeah, so I was, and then I decided to sign up for something called initiation through a British channel, Lee Harris. I
So in
don't.
the midst of all this,
Yeah,
you're
I
still
decided.
saying education. I did the same.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, I feel like I'm going through an initiation. I don't know what this means. And I couldn't go to the forest like I had learned. The forest was closed. It was going to be closed until spring. And I was sitting here thinking, well, what am I going to do besides yoga and my normal stuff, cooking and whatever. And I thought, I saw Lee Harris offered initiation and I decided to sign up for that. And it was a once a week channel thing. And it was really good. And the
It's
very
interesting.
first,
I'd just like to say I
yeah,
was on the West Coast, literally on an island, and my sister had subscribed to the Lee Harris energy updates. So
yep,
simultaneously, I considered actually doing the initiation. I was like, okay, it's actually a little too overwhelming for me right now,
yeah,
because I was entirely displaced living on her couch, you know,
right,
in a
right,
900 square foot house. So I mean, it was a lot. Um,
yeah,
but I was sort of on that wavelength with
yeah,
you, and another time we can talk more about his work.
sure,
He's very interesting. He got me
yes,
into collecting crystals because he showed this giant
uh,
stone that he holds, and I was like, wow, that's a lot. And I now
it's
have
a
five
lot.
of them for just.
Yeah, it's that's awesome. It's interesting because I had followed Lee Harris's energy updates for years, and this was the first time because the word initiation, and I was feeling like I was going through some kind of initiation with what was happening with the outpicturing of the destruction. I felt like internally what was happening was a destruction. It was tearing me down to remove more of the, say, old beliefs and more just patterns that I didn't need. But I do remember telling the healer I was working with that I just didn't feel joy. Well, of course I didn't. I was feeling all the grief and sadness. And yeah, so I started initiation. And at the very end of the very first initiation experience, Lee Harris asked everybody if there was one thing you could manifest in the next 6 months, what would it be? And immediately, safety for me as a
Oh,
woman, as a safety. I want more safety. And that night I went to bed and I had a horrific sexual assault dream. It was more collective. It wasn't personal, but it did touch my personal.
right.
And I had a huge energy experience at the root chakra, the base of my root chakra. It felt like an atomic bomb. I'm glad
Oh,
there was
wow.
no, yeah, I'm glad there was no physical pain. It was huge. The amount of energy coming out of my root and down my legs. And since then, it's just been going and going and going and going to now I have the feeling of like the bottoms of my feet are completely open doors and
Yes.
they're plugged in to the umbilical cord of the mother and I'm receiving the nourishment. Yeah, like,
The real
wow,
tree of
we're
life there, in a way.
right? In a way, the heart. I just remember when I felt that, and that's only been in the last week of feeling that as well. But I did start back doing sessions at the 1st of November, and I've begun to feel lighter and lighter, not breaking down and crying as much. I still have my moments like when I walked into a FEMA tent because when I filled out my application, I totally messed it up and didn't even realize that I had messed it up that badly. But I was doing it on my iPhone, and I wasn't used to using my iPhone for that. And I have a small iPhone; it's like using a iPod Nano or something.
Right, right.
Um,
And just, I
yeah,
noticed, I'm sure I'm doing something. I check that I've done it correctly. And,
yeah.
you
And
know,
I did not. I
my
had messed
cognitive
it up.
function just, I'm too overwhelmed, and I'm not someone
Yeah.
that overwhelmed. I mean, sort of a characteristic for me is that my brain works well with stress hormones. Not every, it's a
Hmm.
minority It runs in my family. It's genetic. Most of the time, which is why I didn't realize, my stress would have literally crushed someone, as I've heard from numerous therapists in different fields over the years. And to me, it's just, I'm walking. It's nothing to me. But this, the magnitude of it, and I wouldn't say that it is age related or a cumulative thing at all. It is very much right now. The magnitude of everything really limits my brain function. And there's no other way for me to describe that.
I just kept telling people I was in trauma brain. And I showed up at the FEMA tent and I sat in a chair. And all of a sudden, I feel like I literally felt everybody who had sat in that chair before me. And I was about to break down and cry. And that was not how I was feeling when I walked into the tent. So I very quickly just silently said, this isn't mine. Remove it and place me in a bubble of protection. And as soon as I did that, it went away. And I was able to explain everything. So, HELENE has had a profound impact on me, different in that I didn't have the devastation of my house and loss of life. And that was really hard to read all of it, to see all of it. And because how can you'd have to not have a heart to not feel that. And for me, I'm a deep empath. And I've been learning to discern what is mine and what is not. And I'm not 100% accurate. I am human. So sometimes I don't know if it's something I'm feeling. Like even when I'm doing sessions with people, like healing sessions with them, and all of a sudden I'll start feeling anxious. And I'm like, gosh, I wasn't feeling anxious a second ago. And I realized most of the time that was not me, because I wasn't feeling that way, and nobody had said anything to cause me to feel that way. It's coming from the client, and it's fine. It's fine as long as I can figure out how to help them dispel it, to
or even just acknowledge it,
Yeah, and just sometimes that's the way to dispel it, is to acknowledge it, and that's what I'll do. It's like, I'll say, okay, I'm feeling really anxious right now. I'm just curious, how are you feeling in this moment? And a lot of times it'll help me identify the healing, because they could not be connected to it at all. Like I remember in my early years of receiving healings, my healer would say, I'm feeling a lot of anger, and I would have no association at all.
I'm not angry.
I'm not angry. Like, what?
I'm lovely.
Yes. I'm being the nice
kind. People get angry, and that's not me. I'm very good.
I'm being soft, Jen. And there was a lot of anger underneath the covers. So anyway, not to digress, but yes. So I use it all. I allow everything to just flow through me without getting stuck.
And do you feel it's given you, or whether it's the initiation with Lee, do you feel like you have more focus to put yourself out there, to be available to people, to find you, to do the work?
I do, because one of the messages that I got just a couple of weeks ago, that it just came in as a knowing. I say I hear from my spirit team. It's not that outward voice like I heard early on. It's a feeling that turns into a knowing that has words for whatever reason. But I heard, okay, Jan, like it was something like this. You need to stop signing up for any other courses, any other teachings. We want you to spend 2025 marketing yourself, talking about what you do, telling. And I was thinking, well,
I feel that.
How am I going to talk about it? How am I going to talk about it?
Here we are.
Going to say? And here we are. Here we are. And I pretty much heard, keep it simple, tell some short stories, show up on social media. And so I'm starting to do that. I'm learning some other apps to help me with videos and stuff. And
Same.
I'm very messy. It's funny to be a former IT person. I was asking my daughter, like, can you show me this app? And she's like, I'd be glad to, Mom. But then we don't get together, or we do get together, but then we do something else, like go antiquing or have coffee. But yeah, instead of working on the app, and I'm finding my own way through the apps, and I'm going to show up, and it's going to be messy and not perfect, and
it
yeah,
will
just like
come
I am.
the same.
It'll
I've
come. Yeah.
chosen again to take a formal education route, but not in a spiritual, just in a practical, technical terms. What am I doing?
Yeah.
Because I sort of spent 3 or 4 months finding my way. And what I found was I loved it. I have an art background that is not digital. And I feel like this is an art form that I haven't appreciated, and that I have a lot to learn. And I do thank you. I mean, I really, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being part of this, because one thing I learned was in this podcast medium, the first most important step is the call that you make to the person you would like to be with you.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And you were immediately the very first person I thought of. And I know that I had reached out to you when I thought I would be, around
it was going to be
the end
November
of September.
3rd.
I thought, I'm going to, or November, whatever it was. I knew I was coming back, and I wanted to reconnect with you and do some sort of healing, global, intentional work together. And that didn't come to pass. And maybe in the future, some other thing will happen. But you really were someone that I felt a connection with. But I really would like to say, for everyone to hear, from me to you, so much respect. You have a great deal of integrity. And you say vulnerability, I'll say authenticity. To just really speak your own powerful truth, whatever it looks like, however it feels. That's special. And that is something I think, as you've described, it comes with time. We might, as you say, throw a toe in the water and then retreat, but to just be there consistently, that is a learned skill.
Gosh, thank you. I feel like I have so many light bulbs going off after talking to you and doing this morning. Yes, and I was going to say, also add in that on my website, I have a fee that I charge, but I also realize, and I've always felt this way, I'm not in the healing arts to make money. And I know that would be, a lot of healers would be like, what the F are you saying? And I have been in it because of my heart. And anytime I tried to make it about the money, it would fall flat. So for me, my advocacy and my activism is that, sure, I have a rate that I charge. I think I'm really good at what I do. I've worked 25 years, and not that makes me special. I've just awakened to the fact that I'm a divine being in a human body, and I am special just by the mere fact that I'm here. Just like I look at everybody else, I don't put anybody above me. We're all different. We all have different abilities, skills, etc., intelligence. And I always wanted to do the work really on a donation-based way. And I had people telling me, oh, well, you don't value your work if you're going to do it as a donation. Oh, well, you know, this or that. And I'm thinking, no, that's just some stuff that y'all came up with because you needed to be able to make money. And sure, but it would just be better if you said, hey, this is what I'm going to do to make money.
Right.
So for me, it's about heart. And I just wanted to point that out.
Capitalism, whatever.
Yeah.
My view has been since the 80s, when I started to do astrology readings professionally, as opposed to in my bedroom with my friends or my sister or something. when it came to the money, I see what I do and what you do, which are very different things, as priceless. Like you
Yeah,
couldn't possibly charge enough
exactly.
for the value that we are offering. But that because we live in this society and because money is reality,
Hmm.
to function in society, it makes sense that we put some dollar value so that the person who's receiving this priceless gift from us
Hmm.
is committing consciously to the fact that they have received something that's valuable. Like that's actually a little piece of the secret sauce, which doesn't mean
Right.
90% of the time it's not free. It
Right.
is. It really is, because I think when you get to a certain level of mastery, it is so integrated that we never stop doing it. And we are
Yes.
actually changing the world just by being ourselves in this
Mhm.
mode. So it's all for free,
Yes.
but
It's
the
yeah.
profession deserves to be remunerated. So
Yep.
I support you in that. I know that you are open to people and you're saying, hey, if you don't have cash right now, I get that. And I'm still
Yeah.
here for you. And that's a beautiful thing. That's
That
a
is the thing
beautiful thing.
about it. Because if we want the world to change, what is it, Ralph Waldo Emerson? I don't remember who said it. We have to be that change we want to see in the world. And seeing all
He
the
was
people
Gandhi.
here. Oh, okay.
I don't
I
know.
don't
I don't
know.
know. It just hit
Okay.
me.
But yeah, if it be the change you want to see in the world is the quote. So, or sort of the quote, but seeing people, strangers coming together and people who had lost their houses, giving their neighbors food and giving them
Right.
gas. And that's what I mean. So I recognize that there's been so much devastation up here. And I think I'm not incorrect in saying that about 50% of the population in the US lives paycheck to paycheck. They can bear, how do we ever expect them to be able to do any personal work if they can't afford to
I don't
pay the
think that's
rate?
necessarily the institutional goal for our society.
Right. It's not. It's just my goal, I guess, of just to, I
Yeah.
value myself. I know what I offer is priceless. I know I'm priceless. I know you're priceless.
Yeah.
I know everybody who steps before me and comes to see me as a client is priceless. So yeah, sure. I have a rate I charge and I love when I get paid that rate. But I have done sessions for a cup of coffee. I have done sessions for $10. I just, I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm singing my song now.
That's
Um,
beautiful.
yeah. So
That's
thanks.
beautiful. And
Thank you.
thank you. The
Yeah.
world really is a better place, a richer place for having you in it.
Oh, thank
And
you.
I would love to continue our
Yeah,
conversation and
we
a
will.
relationship, a connection that maybe can, who knows where it will lead in the end.
Who knows? It's okay. We're in a relationship, and yeah, having met you was just a wonderful experience back in August. So
Thank you.
continuing to stay in touch has just felt really good. Yeah,
Yeah. So
no matter how it
friends,
turns out. Yes,
friends. One thing I have
friends.
learned is statistically, as we grow older, the it's not your diet, it's not your exercise, it's not your disease, it's your
Yeah,
friendships that
it
keep
is.
you happy and healthy. And I want to definitely expand on those that are worth having.
Yeah,
Not
me
just to
too.
go through the motions of saying I have a friend, but I do see you as a friend. And with
Thank
that,
you. I see you.
I'm going to ask you one, if you can keep it very brief to sort of end, I'll
Sure.
let you end the whole conversation. Um,
Okay.
I am an intentional crone. I claim that title to myself. And
Okay.
do you have an intention to set for yourself or for other older women, just to sort of really zero in on the fact that we have a demographic with its own challenges and so many gifts?
Oh wow, yeah, that's um what comes to me to say is that we need each other.
Yeah.
We need each other. We need to come together in community, whatever that looks like. Yeah, it can be community over a Zoom call. It can be community in person. We are changing the hearts of humanity through our work. And maybe we are the first wave for that specifically this go round. I don't really know. But I just know we're here to change the hearts of humanity and open them up to love, because we realize that in the end, love is all there really is. It really and truly, there's love. Yeah. And to be able to put,
Oh, I'm sorry. You can go.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, like just put our differences aside. You can recognize the difference. You can even choose to say something to the other person about the differences. But I am all about choosing kindness and choosing a very wise way of speaking, whatever the truth is, your truth, and being authentic about it. Just being authentic, but not in a way that tears people down. Yeah, but in a way that actually has them feel like they're being supported in life. Because I believe in a creator, and other people may not. So if there is a creator, the creator is always lifting us up, not trying to tear us down. And I know that's hard to see, depending on where you are on the mountain climb that you're on, because each of us is on our own mountain. But yeah.
Thank you so much for that, Jan. That's really beautiful.
Oh, thanks. Thank you so much, Hope. Even your name, Hope.
That's a lucky one. Name. I mean, of all the things I get from my parents, my name and my birthday. December 31st, awesome. Hope.
Oh, see, and I'm winter solstice on December 21st. So I'm a solstice baby.
And you carry that. You carry that.
Thank you.
The crone. That's the crone, right?
The crone. Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
It's the shortest day of the year. It is dark.
Yeah, it is the darkest. Yeah, it's the end. And I was born in the last degree of a new moon.
Yes, and I'm a full moon, so we're probably very close. Different, different but similar.
Okay. Yes, different but similar. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll stay in touch.
Absolutely.